Because yesterday, Graham Platner announced that he's dropping out of the Senate race in Maine that could help Democrats gain control amid allegations of sexual assault that he denies once again on his way out. Take a look.
Over the past couple days, I have faced some very serious allegations, and I just want to make it clear. This is all false. The things that have been claimed did not happen. We are suspending campaign operations. This is incredibly difficult because I know that some will think it's an admission of guilt, and it most certainly is not. We're not doing it because of the allegations. We're doing it because of the structures that are being taken away from us by those in power. We went toe-to-toe with one of the most entrenched political systems in the history of the world, and we won. And now they are not going to let us have it.
So now Democrats are in a race to find a new candidate, and the names in play are many, you know, from former Maine Senate President and planter ally Troy Jackson to actor Patrick Dempsey, who runs a cancer center in the state. And the clock is ticking, you know, and people are saying, can they find a winning replacement in time? Can they?
Didn't you work with Patrick Dempsey?
Yeah, probably.
So what do you think? Can he be...
You said, yeah, probably?
Yeah. You know what? Listen.
That's when you know you've had a long career, when you don't even remember.
You know what? I believe if people believe they can do it, that they should step up. I don't know that everyone is qualified to do it, but this is not what he wants to do. He's not looking to, he says this is not what he wants to do, and I don't think that they should push him. But there are people who are in place who can do this job, and so the people in Maine know what they have to do, and I'm going to leave it in their hands to believe that they're going to do what they need to do with the time that they have.
Well, you know, a lot of, in a way, he would be great, I think, as an outsider. But I'm a little worried about outsiders who come into the elected.
Well, Graham Platner was an outsider.
He was an outsider,
and that didn't work out well.
And because if you're in the game for like 50 years or 20, 30 years, you've been vetted over and over again. These outsiders, you don't know what went on behind, you know, in the old days.
Well, you're raising a good point. He's literally stepping down, or at least suspending his campaign. And he is playing the victim in all of this. Now, this was a man that made 1,000 missteps along the way, and he blamed the establishment because a lot of progressives are trying to be anti-establishment people. So rather than owning that he betrayed the voters, the Democratic committee in Maine, the other Democrats in the party, no one did this but him. And yet he never once owned that he betrayed the very voters that put him in there. He kept saying, don't worry, I'm looking out for you. This is the establishment. So he's trying to run on these sound bites that got people to like him in the first place while never really owning anything. It was literally a deflection, a dodge, and it came off so arrogant and condescending. I hope that people watched it. If they didn't already know how they felt, I hope that part realize that we're in a better place with him stepping aside.
But at least the Democrats are dumping him, whereas Susan Collins was one of the major votes to put Kavanaugh on the Supreme Court. And he had also allegations exactly like this, if I recall correctly. Am I wrong?
Well, the allegations were a little bit different, but they were of a sexual nature. And you have someone like Pete Hegseth, who is actually in the cabinet, who was accused of rape and actually settled with that woman, paid her $50,000. But I will say this, you know, to Whoopi's point about the Maine voters will speak, they've interviewed a lot of Maine voters after he stepped down, and one Maine voter in particular said Platner did show to establishment Democrats that this is exactly what Maine wants. These are the policies that we want. This is the messaging that we want. And I think when you look at Platner's platform, which was ban billionaires buying elections, universal health care, defend Medicare and Medicaid, protect Social Security, support unions, support public schools, support our veterans, no more pointless wars, and bring Gaza genocide to an end. If Maine is saying that's the type of candidate they want, those are the policies that they want, then I think the Democratic National Committee needs to listen to that and find you know, some sort of contender that speaks to those voters, because he did he could have won this race, but for these, I think, the additional allegations that came forward that the voters did not know about.
Yes.
But I think that this is a winnable race. I think Susan Collins is not good, not a fair representation of the Maine voter right now, and I think the Democrats need to win this race.
I am surprised by how many unforced errors there have been by the Democrats. Because right now, we all know Donald Trump's approval ratings are in the toilet. He's in like the low 30s right now. This should be a clean sweep going into the midterms for Democrats. But whether it was the California governor's race, where Eric Swalwell stayed in way too long, despite what seemed like kind of open whispers about his character, it turns out he also had sexual abuse allegations, which he denies. That in this case, for months, we knew so many damning things about him. Most of this table months ago said that he should get out of the race. So now he's waiting until the 11th hour. So whatever candidate comes in, even if they run on a similar platform, if they raise tons of money, it's a much more narrow window to defeat somebody who's been in Congress for more than 20 years.
So by that
and who's
logic,
well known in the
shouldn't
state.
Trump resign now so that the Republicans have a better shot?
I don't even know where to go with that. But the point being that I just think that this is such a missed opportunity. And there's also this question of the moral high ground. I think Democrats really wanted to go into the midterm saying, we're running on the moral high ground. We hold our own accountable. And it's harder to argue that when you now have several people who you defended the bigoted statements he had. You stood by him when he had the Nazi
Yeah, but they got rid of him now, so it's
eventually, like, how long does it take?
You know
What I
how
really
long
think-
it takes. It takes, you know, who is still sitting
and
there.
sometimes it never takes. But
Somebody's still sitting
tell
there.
you something I found very interesting. So Graham Platner had the support of Bernie Sanders and a lot of these lefty progressive politicians. One didn't back him. AOC never came out in favor of him. And there's speculation. So AOC was a bartender. I worked in the hospitality industry. You know, if you ever have,
Haven't we all? I was a waitress at Friday.
Yeah, you know how to read people. I think especially women who worked in the hospitality industry have a sixth sense for people who are bad guys and who are not good guys. I'm not speaking for AOC, but I think it's very interesting that she was like, something is off with this guy and I'm not jumping in for him.
The bottom line is the people of Maine will make this decision, whether they make it quickly or slowly. They know what they're looking for, and they're not going to settle for less. The idea that, as it turns out, people on both sides of the aisle are
Dirtbags?
Yes,
Dirtbags.
thank you. Much better word than what was about to fall out of my mouth. You know, it should not be a shock. You know, these folks, this is where we've allowed ourselves to get to. This is what we've said.
Trump lowered the bar also.
Well, but we have to take responsibility for this because we knew everything he was, and they elected him anyway.
That's the part, though.
That's
Lucky,
the point.
I'm talking about
Trump.
him.
Oh,
Yeah.
Trump?
Yes,
They knew who.
Well, that's
I
what
didn't vote
that's,
for him.
No, but many people did, and
Yeah.
or you know, or who knows how he got
They
there?
watch
He's
Fox.
there.
You know what, Whoopi? They watch these channels that they don't know what's going on, really.
But there's
And
really
people
saying
talk radio, Fox News, they don't get the same information
But
they
if you
get on
keep
the
saying,
other
but
channels.
what about Trump? We're going to keep ending up with Platner.
No, that was not what I was saying. What
I know what you're saying,
okay.
which is the problem is the opposite side then says, well, if Trump's up there, then we need the
we're
standards
okay
are
with
lowered.
somebody who's in the
I think it's
The
on the
standards are
voters.
lowered.
No,
But
I
not
think-
Nazis tattoo lower. I refuse.
Yeah, I refuse to accept a certain level of. I didn't vote for Donald Trump.
Pete
I wouldn't
Hegseth
vote for Donald Trump, and I would
has
never vote for
controversial
Platner.
tattoos.
No one at this
And he's
table
in the-
supports
and
Pete
he's in,
Hegseth.
and he's in the cabinet. But I should say that Pete
That wasn't
Hegseth-
voters, though.
Hold on,
Wait,
Pete
wait.
Hegseth and Brett Kavanaugh have repeatedly denied all allegations of sexual assault. It wasn't the voters, but it was certainly the representatives of the voters. That
Yeah,
vote-
But this
that-
is where it's
that
on the
nominated
people
Pete
to
Hegseth.
demand better.
Well,
Because
that's
just because some
my
people might
point.
elect bad dudes doesn't mean that we
That's
all
my
have to.
point.
Yeah, but we have to
a
know
black
the
guy.
information.
This was out. This
We
was
knew a
pretty-
lot about
We knew a
Platner.
lot.
Well, we've known a lot, but this is my point. We've known a lot about a lot of folks, and we've held our noses on both sides.
I'm done holding the nose.
Well,
Yeah.
I think it's about time that people start saying, listen, this is no longer acceptable.
Yep.
It's not okay. And I keep pointing to the one at the top because this is the one that is in front of our kids as well.
Yes.
And we have to explain why we say no to this one, but this one is okay. We have to, make a decision.
People in his
Yeah.
cabinet.
We have to make a decision.